Man, they made us sweat for that one tonight, but they got the win, and that's what we asked for. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers show, live from the Xfinity mobile studio hotline here with Kyle and Devon and Bree. We're presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 as the Philadelphia 76ers escape with a 2-point win. Final score 113-111 as Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey really do their business tonight. We'll get to the unsung hero and the temperature check a little bit later as we go along. We have plenty of things to talk about here as the offense kind of sputtered along with just three guys tonight. We'll get into all of that, but they got the win. That's most important. That's what we always say, find a way. They found a way, so we break it all down here. Let's start off with the main thing here, Kyle, as we get to the main thing and just simply go with, man, they needed that 21-8 run to close out the game, didn't they, when Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey came back into the game in the fourth quarter, and Maxey and Embiid putting the Sixers on their broad shoulders for the win, combining for 77 points tonight, and they needed every bit of those. Kyle, I was sitting here, oftentimes we get to sit together and watch these, and I'm like, Joel and those 2 free throws are going to come back to bite him. He misses 2 free throws. They're going to come back to bite him, but they did not. They got the win. They hit their clutch free throws. Tyrese Maxey, I don't know what the communication was there. 1.2 seconds left on the clock. He misses the free throw as the and one. I'd imagine he was just simply thinking, miss it. They have to get the rebound. They don't have any timeouts. It's going to be tough for them to heave and get a win. Joel and I believe it was Paul George or Oubre talking to him and saying, why didn't you just make it and make them take the ball out? But they got the win, and 21-8 run, 77 combined points for those two. They got the win. This is what we always ask for. Just find a way.
Yeah, and yet I come out of that game maybe as annoyed as I've been with this team all season, Devon. That was so look, we can start with Maxey and Embiid, offensive execution-wise, were outstanding that game. Like, they just destroyed that team. That was not a fair fight. Maxey gets going early. He's had trouble shooting the ball lately, but comes out, makes a mid-range jumper, makes a couple of threes, takes a heat check, and then he was, frankly, not really involved with the game for a little bit there. Like, it was a lot of Joel post-ups, some Paul deep catches and things like that. And the game gets away from Maxey a little bit, but then the second quarter, he's killing them again. And I think the threat of the jumper early, making them respect the jumper early, sets up the speed game, sets up the drive game. He's getting all the way to the rim. Sacramento is a team that really has nothing to do with him or throw at him, where the individual matchups are fine for him. But then when he can beat his man, they have no rim protection, right? Like, Sabonis' whole thing is rebounding. It is not offering resistance as a defender at the rim. And so if he was able to make a play to get by somebody, it was basically over. And so he walked that line perfectly. For Joel, kind of the same deal, where they just have nobody who can defend him one-on-one. They don't have enough size. On the offensive end, we talked about it before the game. It played itself out perfectly, Devon. Sabonis is not a guy who drags him out of the paint so he can hang out in the paint on defense for a lot of the game. On the other end, he's too small. They got to send help. And he wasn't great in crunch time. I will say that. There were some turnover issues, and he just was not crisp with the ball. But the game itself, like the whole picture, he was great. I just wish that this game did not require a Tyrese Maxey game winner with less than 10 seconds left, because this third quarter was among the worst third quarters they've played all year. Got absolutely bulldozed on the offensive glass. And frankly, it wasn't because Sacramento is this big, imposing team. It's not because Sabonis did it all himself. It was just a very unserious approach. And they played about 8 total minutes of serious basketball in this game, maybe even less than that. And it turned out that was enough to win. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, poo-poo a win. You got to get these wins by any means necessary, blah, blah, blah. And, like, if you're looking for a silver lining, yeah, they were able to get that win without putting much wear and tear on absolutely anybody, because nobody tried for 3/4 of that game. But God, it's irritating to watch. And the thought that was in the back of my head for a lot of this game was, this is why a lot of people won't take them seriously. Like, imagine you're a fan who is only checking in intermittently, is not watching every game. You're coming away from that game like, why would I trust this team? And I get it. Like, they've had better performances lately. The Houston game was great. They've had some real professional wins. This was a win. It wasn't especially professional, though.
So I agree with everything you said. I'm going to go the other way tonight, where rarely we go in this way, because as I said at the very top, they won. And this was trending in the wrong direction because of everything that you just said. All of those things where they're just coasting up the floor. They're up 8, and because it was an easy way to get up 8 tonight, and they didn't really put and exert any effort into what they were doing, and you let a bad team hang around. At one point, I think I saw on our Twitter account, because we all check our team's Twitter account, where the Sixers lose the third quarter by 10. Then I believe it was 13-4 or 14-3 or something like that, as the fourth quarter got underway. So it was a pretty big discrepancy there in the second half, which is why the Sacramento Kings were able to go up by 10 points in this one. And I'm sitting there thinking the same thing as you, playing with your food, as we always joke around with the Doc Rivers quote, and they're going to lose this basketball game. And it's going to be very frustrating. And for everything that you just said, and you're absolutely right, the fans are going to say, why am I going to trust this basketball team? Because this is what they do. There was no reason for this to be a crunch time game once again for the Philadelphia 76ers against the Sacramento Kings, down one starter. The second starter coming off the bench, who I thought just wasn't playing because he wasn't in the starting lineup, and Zach LaVine. And
Devon was so like, oh, there's no way Zach LaVine's coming. And look, I get it.
Right.
On that team, like, why is he coming off the bench? Now, he didn't exactly justify it with his play tonight.
No, he did not. But with all of that said, we've seen so many of these games where, Kyle, they've played good games, done enough of a little bit to lose it against one of these other teams, have played where they've coasted or let a bad team hang around long enough, where we talk about some of these other games that the Denver Nuggets shorthanded game. We can name all of the games that they've played where we've been frustrated because they should not have lost that basketball game. They found a way tonight. It's unfortunate that it needed Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to come back in the fourth quarter to break up the lead that the Kings had, to get themselves back into it, to lock this one in, and a great rebound from Joel Embiid, squeeze the pill with 5 seconds to go, Nick Nurse calling the timeout to give them the opportunity to have the play that they did. Great backdoor pass from Tyrese Maxey on the scoop, and they get the 2-point lead. I'm just happy that in this case that they won it, because the other side of what we will be talking about here tonight, we've done that so many times already this season, that I'm just happy that they were able to find a way, as we say with good basketball teams. And we've said that they're a decent basketball team, a good basketball team this year. They're 26-21. They found a way to get it done. I'm a little ticked off that there were only 3 players that scored in double figures. Paul George had 15. I know we'll talk about him a little bit later, but for them to carry this one home against a bad team, it's a little disheartening, as you pointed out. But I'm just happy that they got the win tonight, because the conversation that we would be having if they did lose this one by 1 point would be very, very frustrating tonight.
No, listen, I do agree with you, Devon, to the point that I'm not going to sit here and just like scold the Sixers for the next 50 minutes. And I don't want to, I don't want to take anybody's joy away who looks at that. I mean, listen, incredible final play. And I think if you're trying to be an optimist or positive about it, what you would say is, forget who the opponent is. Crunch time execution has not exactly been great in recent weeks. It's been something that they have largely struggled with after getting off to a really good start in crunch time type of games this year, because they've played a lot of them. And I think the fact that, I know it's a big talent advantage, I know they should have won this game by a lot more, but seeing them get to their stuff late in the game, seeing them with 5 seconds left, whatever that was, run a sideline out of bounds play that yes, it's one we've seen before. They talked about it quite a bit on the broadcast. Like, hey, this is one of their pet plays. Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt, the Joel Embiid up top there, setting a screen. All that being the case, they executed well. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be particularly inventive, and it doesn't have to be different from the stuff that you run throughout the game for it to be the right thing for you to run in that moment. It's about pushing the right buttons at the right time. And when opportunities were there to make plays, they made plays. And we'll probably talk about VJ at some point down the road on this show. But I thought he was rewarded late in the game for he did not have a good offensive night.
Right.
But he was a guy who, while the rest of these guys were just in outer space or whatever, I thought was actively trying to play defense. And he was one of the guys who I thought was a catalyst for like, okay, we are locked in now. Makes a play to create a turnover as one of those many plays they made in the final 5-6 minutes. It took the collective to do that. We can maybe have a broader conversation about some of the ridiculous overhelp situations they had in crunch time too, that they got punished on a couple of them. And maybe that's a bigger conversation about needing to change the principles or at least adapt as a game goes on.
Yeah.
But I hear you, Devon. I hear you, because they got to win these games. You listed a lot of these games, like the Denver game, the Chicago game that they blew a big lead in. Like, there have been a handful of these games throughout the season where either because of game situation or the opponent, or frankly, sometimes both, we've said you can't let that one get away. So all the criticism, all the anger, all the frustration that I have, you let it go because you say they got it done. Where I will stop, though, is I'll point to the season the Eagles just had, where a lot, you don't want to get to the point where you're justifying bad habits, bad tendencies, bad schematic principles, whatever, just because they're winning a game. Now, there are more of these games, and so every game is not the stakes of, Eagles Cowboys or Eagles Commanders or Eagles Giants or whatever it is. But building these good habits, building these, professional, serious performances is a thing I care about. It's a thing that the fans care about when they're spending their time, their money, all that. So happy with the win. Wish I was happier with how it transpired. I
was sitting there like you. I was sitting there saying, at first I saw your tweet somewhere in the third quarter where the game was still it was pretty close still at that point. They were going back and forth. And I saw your tweet of, man, this is the most boring game I've seen them play all season long, because they were really coasting and they
were effing around, man. We can't say it because of our wonderful partners until overtime, but they were effing around big time.
The coast was real, man. And I'm like, all right. But as it was happening in the coast, and they still go up about 6-7 points, I'm saying, I think we're going to be talking tonight about a game that they win maybe about 5, 6, 7 points, but one in which they just allowed themselves to coast, but they still found a way to just win. So they didn't have to exert a lot of energy. Instead, it turned into, man, we're overloading on the one side. We got this, they're trapping Tyrese. He's getting the basketball out of his hands. High passes to Joel in the middle of the floor. But just as much as the Sixers, which we'll talk about the bad coverages that they may have to change at some point down the line in the season, or even game by game, man, what was the coverage of the Sacramento Kings defense when you knew what the play was? And Joel just has a runway to make a decision of either I'm going to pull up and shoot a jumper off this hang dribble, or I'm going to put the ball on the floor and go against Caldwell, who, by the way, I liked him better in Auburn as a pro coming out for Janai Broom, but that's a whole nother conversation. Or going against Sabonis.
By the way, Maxime Reynaud, who we talked about potentially taking with that pick, pretty good game tonight.
Pretty good.
Picked up a fair amount of fouls, but I was a guy
that's what Joel does. Broom. Exactly.
Yeah,
but what was their coverage of? All right, yes, we understand that.
Prayer. That was their coverage.
So this is where I would give credit, because you talked in the pregame and you just mentioned it here as you were talking about the execution. Some of the things that you wanted to learn from this game. Number one, win the basketball game. Don't play around. They did that. So they X on that when they didn't do that one. But the check that I think that I do give them is because with the execution, you saw that down the stretch and they followed through with it. Now, they're playing a bad team. That's their problem. But they were in the game and they felt like they belonged in the game, so they were playing a defense. But they took advantage of a bad defensive system that was going on, whatever that the Kings wanted to do, Doug Christie and the coaching staff wanted to do. I don't know how you leave Joel Embiid in the middle of the floor like that to make a decision where he was drawing so many fouls, and as a willing passer, he can make a pass to a guy that could potentially be open. So I don't know what they were doing defensively outside of, yes, trapping Embiid, but Tyrese Maxey, but the release was right there with Joel Embiid. It was too easy.
And Devon, to be PD positive over here for a second. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey shot 25 of 39 from the field. Like both shot 60+% from the field. They each went to the free throw line 13 times each, including obviously the one that I think Maxey intentionally missed at the end of the game, that conversation was had between them. They both, by the way, had 8 assists. Now, where I'll say I don't like that they were matching or close to matching was Joel only having 1 rebound more than Maxey. But this was a game that was as simple as they have by far the 2 best guys on the floor, and their synergy, their chemistry, the way they play and bounce off of one another on offense is so dangerous. And with Joel in this mode now where every game that goes by, it feels like we just get closer to saying, man, there's really nothing that he's leaving on the table in terms of the offensive stuff. Defense, rebounding, that's a different story. But in terms of what he was doing as an offensive player at his peak when he was an MVP, everything is there right now. He's got the mid-range. He's getting to the free throw line. He's getting duck-ins, deep post-ups. He's attacking mismatches. He's like, all of it is there. The drive game is there. The passing out of double teams is there. Adding that to the version of Tyrese Maxey that they have this season, adding that to a partnership where even with a compromised Joel, Maxey is able to play tremendously off of that guy. We've had shows in the past of him where we talked about this is the best, most synergistic partnership Joel Embiid has ever had. It's just incredible what these two can do together. And so this is a game where they win because those 2 guys are just so good. Like they're just better, and the Kings can't throw anything at them that can be stopped. Because if you're switching actions and, Joel is getting a small, he's killing that guy. Or if Maxey has Sabonis or a big or, Achua, whoever, on an island because they switched, he's killing that guy too. He's hitting him with a step back. He's getting all the way to the rim. And then when they load up in the paint, both of those guys make great decisions as passers throughout the game, finding open shooters, recycling the offense, etc. It does remind you, like, they have 2 guys that can go out there and just dominate a game. Tonight they did it together, and they carried a group that got almost nothing from the bench, from the general supporting cast. Like PG chipped in a little bit, but that was a carry job on offense, 100%. And that's how good those 2 guys are.
100%. 2 things where you mentioned the duck-ins and the deep posting. Man, he made the one in the first half. He made a jump hook, lefty jump hook. I'm like, speaking my language, Joel Embiid. Make it easy on yourself. Don't work too hard. Get that jump hook, either hand. Got the left hand with that one. I like to see that. And then to your point, in the last few possessions there, as they're coming back and eventually securing the win, one of those switches, man, with the double team, Zach LaVine was on him in the middle of the floor. Zach LaVine can't defend normal perimeter defenders. His height and all, you're not worried about him. No way he's defending Joel Embiid in the middle of the floor like that with that runway available to him. So good win in the end because they got the W. They had to work too hard, too much heavy lifting for your 2-star players to get that victory, but they got it done. On the other side, we come back. We discuss the unsung hero of the night, the Togo unsung hero. A little bit later, we'll get to the Ace Hardware temperature check. Wasn't a lot of heating up outside of the 2 guys, 0 and 21. So just wait and see who that might be. And for all of you Let us know, as always, in the chat, who do you have as the unsung hero for tonight's game? The Sixers win 113-111, a close one over the Kings, but they are 5 games over 500. One more at home against the New Orleans Pelicans, where they can push their record to 27-21 before they hit the road for 5. Needed this one. Got it done. Much more to talk about. Player of the game as well. We'll do it all when we get back. Kyle, Devon, Bree, right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
Guys, we work a lot of late nights covering the Sixers. There are very few things that get me out of bed and out of the house in the morning, but the Wawa $5 big breakfast deal is one of them. It's a sizzly, whatever sizzle you want. I'm a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant guy myself, but they have all kinds of options. Any size, hot or iced coffee. I need a big coffee in the morning. And a hash brown. That's the whole thing, all for just $5. It's a go-to for me when I need something to fill me up in the morning, get me going. Also, tastes delicious. And if you want to switch it up and make it sweet, you can use their new caramel chocolate craze flavors too. I'm a caramel guy myself. I don't know, maybe Bree, maybe Devon are more on the chocolate kick. There's something there for everybody. And most importantly, it's $5. You're in and out. The deal's only in the mornings, 5 to 11 a.m. It's a nice window. You're up early. You're heading to work. You guys know it. Gotta have a Wawa.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Xfinity and their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Kyle, Devon, Bree, all of you in the chat. We'll get to your super chats as well as we go along. But we do have to tap in on the unsung hero of the night. It's the Togo unsung hero presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. And let's go with VJ Edgecombe. Even though the offense wasn't great tonight, as Kyle mentioned, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Only on the night, 5 points, 2 for 7, struggle from the floor, but still chipping in where you need him to just help out. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and the defense, Kyle, that you pointed out late there, where you needed him to just be an active defender to disrupt some things. He had some trouble with DeMar DeRozan, even had some trouble with Zach LaVine at times tonight. And this is what happens when you have elite scoring offensive guys there in the NBA. He's going to have some success against some. He's going to get schooled, and it's still his rookie year. He's going to get schooled in some of those matchups as well. But down the stretch, like he does, it wasn't the three-point shot that we typically see from VJ Edgecombe when it comes to his impact late, that big shot. It's the impact on the defensive end that we saw there.
Yeah, and I will say I do feel kind of in step with the flying zebra in the chat who says, I honestly feel like no unsung heroes.
Oh, I agree.
Maxey and Embiid, and that was it.
I agree.
Like to the point you're making, Devon, as we're talking through this, I do think that VJ was the only guy for me who felt like was persistent on defense throughout the game, where he's making plays early. He's trying to make plays in the middle of the game, even if it's not really coming off for him. I think he, frankly, was a little too intense at times, where that one fourth quarter turnover that he had that was right after he created a steal was just him saying, I'm 1 for 5 from 3, I'm 2 for 7 from the field, and I got to get something going for myself. And then he finds himself in no man's land in transition. Yeah. But I think the fact that he had the energy going and the engine running most of the night made it so, all right, you already have one guy who is sort of locked in. It doesn't require all 5 guys suddenly flipping a switch. Like, you have 1/5 of the team at least is ready to defend and ready to, do what is required to get this win. And I thought he had some really important defensive stops down the stretch. Like, was it Ellis who he got into forcing that turnover? Or maybe it was Schroeder. Either way, did a great job to get into his chest, deflection off his foot, and very smartly, by the way, instead of trying to recover a ball that was, if he goes to grab it, maybe he steps out of bounds and gives the ball right back. Instead, he makes the smart play, the more conservative play there, understands that it's off his opponent, it goes out of bounds, and then they go and they have a good half-court possession after that. So it was not a good game overall. Didn't shoot it well, didn't play well on offense, was not much of a contributor, but I thought when they needed him to make some plays and sort of lock in down the stretch, he's the only guy who I could think of that would count as an unsung hero, because it certainly wasn't Oubre. It certainly wasn't the entire bench. I guess the only other guy with a case is probably PG, because he had 15, 5 assists, couple steals, was decent, not great, decent, but VJ for our purposes works fine for me.
Yeah, so the Flying Zebra, listen, this is the unsung hero presented by one of our sponsors. We have to find something. We couldn't give it to Duck Christie.
We'll give it to the Flying Zebra. How about that? You're the unsung hero tonight, buddy.
We couldn't give it to head coach Doug Christie because, he's on the other side, although sometimes we can go to the other team and figure out if we want to go there because of their poor defense down the stretch. But we wanted to find somebody in the Sixers uniform after a win to give them some acknowledgement because of the unsung hero. So because of that, what VJ Edgecombe did down the stretch, we gave him the unsung hero, and he's deserving of plenty of these over the season. Tonight he gets it for his late game defense to help them secure this victory, a close one, too close for our liking, but they got it done. VJ Edgecombe, the Togo unsung hero. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute. Unsung hero presented by Togo. So with that, as we talk about his defense, there were a couple of three-pointers that I thought, as we talk about the good part of his defense, but the offense where it was a little bit worrisome as the game went along. Step back three I thought he took, that was not a great one over a defender right in his face, one pretty much not a couple of feet away from him that I thought was ill-advised, a three-pointer that he took when they didn't need that type of shot. To your point, maybe getting into just a little bit of the over-dribbling at times, and while the turnover number wasn't big for him, he only had the one. It just didn't look like he was in a groove offensively as much as you would have liked against this team, where Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, good profiles as far as defense. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, not so much, even though they have the length, they have the height to keep up with them, but they're not known for their defense. I thought that he would be able to have a little bit of success against those two.
Yeah. So I think a little bit of it is when Joel and Maxey are rolling to the degree they were, and everybody else is kind of maybe you get a shot or a touch every 7-8 possessions. It makes it really difficult to get into any kind of offensive flow. Sure. And that's not to excuse him for forcing stuff up. I think some of it is also he's young. And so when you have that type of game, you just feel this urgency, I'm still establishing myself. I got to make sure that I'm not getting lost in this game. And I don't mind some of the shots that he took. I want him to hunt threes aggressively. I like that he's taken some of these pull-up threes, even with them not playing deep drop coverage. I definitely want him against deep drop. Tonight, they were getting closer to the level, and he's just saying, hey, I'm going to come out and play a bit aggressively. So I like that in the bigger picture because he has to take those. But I think you could also see that as good as he has been as a shooter in year one, the pull-up stuff is still the part that's further away. Catch and shoot guy, I think I'm confident in basically every shot he puts up. It's a little wilder, the pull-up mechanics, the pull-up success. You'll see some air balls here and there, some shots that barely hit the rim. Yeah. Where it lands on the rim is also not consistent either. So he's got to keep working on that. It's okay. He had a nice runner early in the third quarter that I like that we're seeing a little bit more of that from him right now. But yeah, I think when two guys are scoring 77 points and then the third guy is scoring 15, it's just going to be really difficult for anybody to have a productive offensive night on that end. And I think it's especially challenging for a rookie whose role is just fluctuating so much night to night. And it is why I like seeing what I saw down the stretch, which is a guy who's still locked in on the game, who's still out there trying to make winning plays. That's difficult for veterans. It's even tougher for rookies. So I'm ultimately okay with that. Like, you're going to have to live with these kind of games from him.
Yeah, so what I would have liked to have seen, he only took 7 shots, the 15 for Paul George, and the other 2, as we know, they combined for 77 points. So the hub, we know where the hub was. It was those 2. So not a lot of opportunities there. But what I would have liked to have seen, just because of your point, there's not a lot of touches. He made one runner. He made the first 3 earlier, and his second basket was a runner. And I bring this up because Joel Embiid is setting some really good screens over the. He's just been setting some really good screens, freeing up Maxey, of course, but for Tyrese Maxey and even Jared McCain. When we've talked about Jared McCain over these last couple of games having some success there when he's out there on the floor, Embiid is setting some really good screens, not committing any offensive fouls. He's just creating opportunity for the guys to have some space to make a decision on shooting or going downhill to get to the basket. So with that, I just would have liked to have seen him maybe navigate a little bit more and possibly trying to get in the paint where he could. Get that little runner to go, maybe make a second runner where the defender then has to make a decision if I'm going to leave my feet now, and he keeps that one extra dribble to get to the basket, maybe finishes with a layup there at the rim. But to your point, we've seen him do it. He's still rookie, where 40-plus games into his career, these things are not always going to click like we want them to in the moment, as easy as it is for us to call it out as we're watching the basketball game. So still learning, still opportunity for him with so many games left. The runway is still wide open and long for him to figure these things out as they go along. But the screen setting is really good right now. Take advantage of those. And yes, the pull up, if it's not falling for him, that one extra dribble and get to the basket and finish for him would be great. All right, let's take one more pause here on the show. We got 2 more of these, but one more here. We take the pause, we come back. We do have the temperature check that we have to get into. It's frigid outside, that's for sure, but there was also some frigidness inside the Wells Fargo Arena. We're not talking about the ice underneath the court. We do that when we get back. It's the Ace Hardware temperature check right here. Sixers win 113-111, 26-21, everybody. One more home game before the trip. It's the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Do you really want Tyrese Maxey trying to defend some of the better front court players in the association? No, not really. That's not his strong suit. As talented as he is, you don't want him playing out of place. So it's not worth the risk, time, or the money for the professional basketball team. You need to keep your stars focused on what they do best, and the same goes for your business. You don't want your top people buried in operations, tedious, time-consuming, redundant activities that wear them down overall. You want them to keep your impact players fresh. And that's where Togo comes in, an integrated part of your team, taking the work off your starters' plates so they can focus on what really moves the business forward. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and U.S.-based processes engineers who act as if they are your point guard overall. At Togo, turning your playbook into performance. You call the plays, we execute your way, and we advise along the journey. Visit harnesstogo.com. That's harnesstogo.com. Scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning. We are officially into the new year, and it's time to make your homes work smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial Home Equity Line of Credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever is next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit, use only what you need, and when you are ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again, no reapplying, no extra steps. Learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branches located to get started. That's locations, everybody. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404938. Here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show. Make sure you hit the like button, everybody. Like and subscribe to the show. After the show is done, please go and read Kyle's story at allphly.com. The instant observations. Yes, he's telling you about it right here, but you might like what he has to say.
Might get some nuggets in written form, and you might be able to, if you hit the thumbs up button, we'll get another Devon outfit change in the middle of the show, just like we got two or three there in quick succession. The teleporting, outfit changing wonder at the hub of our Sixers show.
Check me out. You know. Switch hats. Baby. I'm home too. Teleport just like that. And have that happen. All right, let's get to the Ace Hardware temperature check presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com and get started on your next project. Do we want to go with the first of all, the bench points tonight? I had Jared McCain for 2 threes in the pregame picks. Did not hit. I apologize, everybody. Precious Achua, we can talk about him in just a few minutes. He hit. I had him for 5 boards, Kyle. He ended up with 13 a game high. But the bench tonight.
That's more than 5.
Yes.
I couldn't do math. I could do math that well. I got out of the math game for the most part, but I do know 13 is greater than 5.
So the bench outscored tonight by a lot. Zach LaVine, that's a little bit of a cheat code. He's coming off the bench. He's scoring 17. Keon Ellis gives you 10. Maxime Reynaud, as you mentioned, he has 8. So you get a really good 35-12 advantage for the Sacramento Kings. So not just the Kings overall with the bench, but where everyone else cooled off, not named Embiid, Maxey, and George.
Devon, it's not even just the scoring, because their 2 backup centers in 12 minutes combined for 2 rebounds. Barlow in almost 21 minutes has 4 points and 1 rebound.
Yeah.
Like these are the guys that you're expecting. They come into the game and they make a difference on the glass. Well, not a them. Certainly Andre, he only played a little less than 4 minutes and they got pasted in those minutes. But It is just a constant problem that Adem doesn't rebound. With Andre, he doesn't defend well enough and hasn't defended well enough for most of the last 2 months, where he's not even in positions to rebound because they're getting scored on. And so these backup units that don't have Joel, who, by the way, also had a bad rebounding night. There was a play, Devon, where, and this isn't the Joel segment, that he had a ball fall to his hands that then bounced off his chest and falls to the floor. Sabonis gets it, put back. And I think I said to members of our Discord tonight, and God bless all our wonderful friends in the Discord today, where I was like, I might just turn this game off. I don't know if I can finish this recap and watch the post-game show. But the biggest indictment of the bench tonight is not just that they didn't score and that the Kings were so much better there. They didn't do anything. They didn't contribute anything of value. And it's one thing, you don't get the shot opportunities. Okay, whatever. It's going to happen. You're playing with some really ball-dominant, high-scoring volume guys. You got to make an impact on the game one way or another, and they just didn't do that at all. Man-to-man, I couldn't tell you a single thing that they did well as a bench tonight.
And look, it was 15-2 offensive rebounds tonight. 15-2. The advantage overall, 46-24 in favor of the Kings on the glass. Huh? Can't happen. Again, it happens way too often, as Kyle pointed out, just way too often that this happens. And I remember the play where you're talking about Joel, the ball just bouncing off his fingertips, then his chest, right into Sabonis' hands, and boom, layup right there. And so Barlow, and this was not one of Barlow's best nights. We've seen a ton of really good nights where the energy, the hustle, it's all there. A couple of fouls didn't go his way. He was upset about those, but he just could not get his fingertips on any of those basketballs for a board. The scoring wasn't there for him, where we'll look up and he has 9 points with 4 or 5 rebounds. But as someone pointed out in the chat, VJ Edgecombe had 5 boards, where everyone else, it just seemed like they could not get on the glass. So This is way, just a problem for the Sixers at this point, and they need to correct it. Correct.
Devon, VJ had 5 rebounds in a game where Joel Embiid, Adem Bona, Dominic Barlow, and Andre Drummond combined for 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? Like this, and look, VJ attacks the ball. VJ is a great athlete. Like, he is, for his position, he's a guy who can get you rebounds, who is, I think, going to be a plus player in that department over the long term. But he is not somebody who should be at or competing for the lead in rebounds for your team. And he shouldn't be the difference between, boy, we can end a possession, or it's going to be a disaster night on the glass. So that was a huge reason the third quarter went the way it did. Their defense was terrible too. Like, it was just, they got gashed every which way in that third quarter. And I know that you and I and Derek are all sick and tired of talking about the third quarter. But man,
by 10,
they cannot get out of their own way. Or maybe the problem is they can't get in the other team's way.
They cannot. No, they cannot.
Because they couldn't stop anything. It was. I won't say it was the worst one of the year, because they've lost third quarters by more points than that. But boy, it
was frustrating, because everything that you pointed out in the opening monologue of the effort wasn't there. So when you don't give that effort, as we know, look, there are a lot of ways these games can go against a bad team. You can blow them out and just simply put the game away, like we talked about in the pregame, where maybe the guys are resting in the fourth quarter at some point than they needed to. So they're up by 20 in the fourth quarter. Maxey and Embiid don't have to play anymore throughout the remainder of the night. Cool. You get a rest, the off day tomorrow potentially, and then they play on Saturday. Great. That didn't happen. You can get this kind of game, like we saw against another bad team, where you let them hang around, you give them confidence. They have professional scorers on their team, and that's exactly what they did. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to give a little bit more effort, because this is not a night where they're getting their doors blown off. You let them hang in there. Let's go do our thing. And that's exactly what the Sacramento Kings did. But in the end, Sixers win. It would have been nice to get something more from the bench, like Trendon Watford maybe. You know what? Bona was so bad he had to put Drummond in, and Drummond couldn't do anything either. All right, Barlow, maybe give him a couple of 5 minutes. Couldn't do that. Jabari Walker, they're worried about his two-way games played, so can't put him in the game.
I got to tell you, I have poo-pooed the idea of them playing Charles Bassey on this 10-day contract. Like I've said on the show, I've told members of our Discord, like I don't think he was signed to actually play him. I do think it was mostly about the two-way guys. But when you watch the backup center performances tonight, you're like, the one thing Charles Bassey will do is defensive rebound. Like, he has been a good defensive rebounder throughout his career. So I'm kind of like, they're playing a bad Pelicans team on Saturday. Like, I don't think it's crazy to give him an opportunity to play like that.
Yeah.
Going up against Derek Queen, who doesn't really defend, and Yves Maxey, who's, whether they like to keep him or play him or not, like, that's a game I think you could get Bassey on the floor if you wanted to. No, I'm very skeptical that they will. But I just want to see almost anybody else after watching their backup front court and their bench in general tonight.
Guess what? Good night for the maybe go get Precious Achiuwa at the deadline narrative, because 13 boards, and he started at the 5 or started at the 4, but played some 5-2 out there, and he had 13 rebounds, 9 defensive, 4 offensive, finished with 8 points on the night in 34 minutes. Good night from Precious Achiuwa. We mentioned it in the pregame. The guy's been playing some really good basketball rebounding-wise, so maybe he's just showcasing himself to be traded. Maybe the Sixers. Of course, we know that he was in Toronto with Nick Nurse. Maybe a reunion is in the near future for those two guys and the 76ers. That's the Ace Hardware temperature check. Not a lot from the others outside of Embiid and Maxey. When we come back, we do have to talk about Paul George. He did finish with 15. It's the Ace Hardware temperature check presented by Ace Hardware. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online, acehardwarehomeservices.com, to get started on your next project. All right, Paul George on the other side. We'll also talk about you with all your super chats when we get back. Final segment here as we hang out with you after a 2-point win. They escaped the the Sixers did with the 2-point win. We're breaking it down. Final segment on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Everybody, let me tell you about a local business that's been helping Philly homeowners and businesses stay pest-free. Evans Pest Control. Love telling you about them. Why? Because this isn't some giant national chain. They're a family-owned, community-focused pest control company right here in the Philly area, and they've been earning the trust of your neighborhoods for years. My neighborhood, your neighborhood, all of our neighborhoods. Listen, pests don't knock at the door and say, "Can I come in?" They're unwanted guests, and you want them out. And if you have people in your life, sometimes they drop little crumbs here and there. They don't pick up after themselves. Maybe leave this one on the nightstand. Yes, you know what will happen? The pests will show up. You don't want that. So if you see signs of pests or you just want to prevent them before they start, reach out to Evans Pest Control. Visit evanspestmgmt.com to schedule your free consultation. That's Evans Pest Control at evanspestmgmt.com. Let's talk about my place and your place. That's the Excite Center at Parks Casino. The Excite Center at Parks Casino is one of my many things that I love about my casino of choice. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino and is so close to Philadelphia. Located nicely tucked in Bensalem. Take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike. And you're right there. The Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best places to see the country's best music headliners and comedians. Can I tell you about a comedian that's going to be there in March? Tracy Morgan. You want to be there with me as we go check out Tracy Morgan at the Excite Center at Parks Casino in March. On a day off. Hopefully that Sixers are not playing. So visit parkscasino.com to buy all tickets for all shows. And I've been there. You should be there. It's a fantastic place. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Look at all those changes, everybody.
Oh,
welcome.
The hat change.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers post-game show as the Sixers win 113, 111, 26-21 on the season. Wrap up the long homestand with a game against the New Orleans Pelicans on Saturday night, where Kyle Neubeck will be in the arena to check out our guy, Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, do some scouting on Yves Messi, maybe Sadiq a little bit. Yeah, all of that for the trade. Talk to Weaves while you're there and get it all done.
Troy Weaver's hanging up my phone calls. He's turning away any in-person conversations. I do think this Saturday is the reunion game, right? Where they're going to have all the various 2001 Sixers assembled. So I'm hoping that maybe I can, get a word in with one of those guys, tell them exactly how much that team meant to me as a kid. Forget about an interview. I'd just be like, you know what? Thank you guys, because you guys helped me fall in love with basketball. So that'll be fun.
That should be a fun night. So have fun there. Everybody, make sure you get there early, because there are going to be a lot of different things that the Sixers are giving you in celebration of the 2000-2001 team that went to the NBA Finals. By the way, when we were doing things on social media, I saw Nona in one of the Sixers Twitter tweets that they had, where we had fans talking about some stuff. Nona was in the
local celebrity. Nona,
local celeb, yes, yeah, local celeb there in the video. I thought it was pretty cool. Shout out Nona for that. All right, let's get to Paul George. Kind of talked about him in passing, but he was the only other player to reach double-figure scoring tonight. 15 points, 7 for 15. So needed 15 shots to do so. 5 assists, 2 steals on the night. Not a lot there, as you pointed out, but man, he did have one stretch where he scored 6 in a row, where the guys sat down. He scored 6 straight, as he does. It's his offense with VJ Edgecombe out there. And just a regular night after a big 32-point performance. He gave you the 15 that they needed tonight, where no one else could score.
Yeah, again, we're not throwing a parade for 15 points on 15 shots, but did just enough. I will say, connected to the bench and connected to Paul, one thing that really struck me tonight, and I don't know that it's necessarily anybody's fault, is they had a stretch of this season where it felt like some things were solidifying, the rotation was getting a little more static, and now we're a little bit back to they're throwing a lot of different stuff out there, a lot of different lineups. Like, they're not playing differently, but different combinations of players who haven't played a lot of minutes together this season. McCain's reintroduction impacts that. Grimes' absence impacts that. Watford doesn't play. Walker doesn't play. And so I get it, right? You got to see what everything and everyone looks like when you get back to full health. And I'm not necessarily saying that anybody who was on the floor tonight shouldn't have been there. But I think there is a little bit of this push and pull where it's like you got to see what the full group looks like. And Paul ends up being the guy who serves as glue for a lot of these backup units. He offers help to VJ Edgecombe when it's the VJ Paul type of minutes. He offers help to Tyrese Maxey when he needs it, a secondary creator when Joel Embiid's on the bench. I think we saw early in the game tonight, there were some Paul George, Joel Embiid pick and rolls and, two-man actions that they've been leaning into stuff like that. So I do understand why his role is kind of peaks and valleys, and we don't know necessarily what we're going to expect from him. So while it's not a dominant performance from him in any possible way, I do sympathize with him and the rest of the team in that they really need to figure out, like, this is our kind of 10-man group night to night, and this is how we're going to sub it. Obviously, there'll be little tweaks here and there based on who's playing well, and certainly who's playing well amongst the stars, because I think what Nurse has shown is that, for instance, if Joel Embiid's playing really well in the first quarter, he's going to play all 12 minutes, and that impacts the other guys who are being subbed, and that changes the rotations for the second quarter. And there's just a domino effect there. So some of this is because of good problems. They have Joel playing well. They have Maxey playing really well tonight. And some of it is about trying to introduce or reintroduce these guys into the rotation. So Paul's got a tough job. I think he did it well enough tonight. But they're going to have to kind of figure out who the group is sooner rather than later if they want to make a push up the standings rather than sitting, right around this 6 potential danger of falling to 7 territory. You don't want to end up in the play-in. I'll say that. No. That is the absolute, not the doomsday scenario. Doomsday is the bottom falls out and you just completely go.
It's just no need for it. Just no need.
You got to be a top 6 playoff team, and figuring out the rotation is a big part of that.
Yeah, and obviously Grimes being out, he's in that rotation. Him out. Jared McCain pushed back in. Did not have as good a night as we've seen the last 2 games. So we'll see how it looks on Saturday. And, of course, before they get to the trip. All right, let's get to the Super Chats that we do have here as we hang out with everybody. Skunk. Oh, Kyle.
A big haiku from Skunk Riley tonight.
Yes.
Thank you to Skunk Riley, the king of the haikus, who says, this haiku is titled, "Do It." Said that like Shia LaBeouf in that famous meme video, by the way. All right, so here it is. Bring me the Greek freak. Trade VJ and a few picks. Who misses Thibault? For real, though, if they think Embiid can make it this year, then VJ's an afterthought on the floor anyway. So I've said my piece on multiple shows at this point about I draw my line at VJ.
Yes.
I will say, and Derek said this yesterday, to give him some credit, with Giannis, you got to think about everything. Anyone who acts like it is a no-brainer or easy decision is lying to themselves. And by the way, who's a pretty good help side defender, pretty good defensive rebounder, on top of being a 30-point per game guy who can get you 6 or 7 assists on top of all that? That guy in Milwaukee who doesn't want to be in Milwaukee anymore. So I get it. I am not on the side of just trade absolutely anything. And I will say, this is a more extreme version of it, but I do remember a time in 2021 where there was a contingent who wanted Kyle Lowry on this team for the number 1 seeded Sixers, who were willing to trade a rookie Tyrese Maxey to make that trade happen. I am not at all saying that Giannis was the same caliber player as Kyle Lowry was then, but had the Sixers traded Tyrese Maxey then, people would be very upset at how his career has played out since. So always be careful of trading the already productive, very good young player. I get it, though. It's Giannis. Giannis is great. We're going to be talking about this until the deadline passes for sure.
Yep. Thank you for the haiku, Skunk. Appreciate it. The Jake Mark says team has same mindset as their announcers. Gideon, happy to be here. If they win, it's a bonus. If not, oh well. I think they want to win. Tonight they just wanted to go out there, and they felt like they can roll the basketball out, run their two-man game, and all would be fine. Well, all was fine with the two guys and putting them on their shoulders, but they needed a little bit more help. And shout out to Ala and Kate, because friends of the show, as we always talked about them.
But I would say, in my heart of hearts, I would like some meaner announcing sometimes, because you guys know I have a heart made of stone when it comes to this stuff. So I hear where Jake is coming from. I could use a little bit of venom at times.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Thanks, team. DJ Mark. Appreciate it. James Alexander said this game scared me at the end. Maxey had a great game reducing his turnovers. This team will not back down. We've seen them sometimes back down, but tonight
they didn't back down tonight. And I'm very happy that they didn't, because if this was a loss, there'd be a lot less smiling and laughing for Devon and I, who this did help lift our moods a little bit.
Yes, it did. Thank you. Now, you said it. I said it. Saw some people in the chat talking about it. James was talking about it, who just had the super chat. I think that I saw someone else respond to James a little bit earlier. We know what he did, intentionally missing the free throw. Do you think he should have made the free throw? Maxey. It was Music Lover that said he did the right thing.
I was in support of the missed free throw because of how little time was left. It's not a thing I feel especially strongly about. Like, if we were talking about a fouling up three scenario, that's what I feel strongly about. Not because I play to win in that scenario, because I think it's for cowards and I hate it and I want to watch them play basketball. So I'm fine with what he did, but I don't really kind of care about that one. If you get beat by like a 80-foot Zach LaVine heave, I don't know, man. The gods didn't want you in that game.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been that close in the first place.
Exactly. Right? That's kind of where I fall.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Appreciate it there, James. And, of course, the Jake Mark, we appreciate it. Jay of the Jungle, hopefully this means an easy time against the Pelicans now. I think the Doomsdayers are overreacting, but playing down 2 straight wouldn't be ideal for the Sixers. Jay, we appreciate the super chat.
We agree. I hope that they take care of business. I know that their queen, by the way, made a comment about haven't played Embiid yet, and he's excited to play him.
Play the Embiid over.
I can't say I know for a fact, but I would bet a good chunk of the money that I have available to me that Drew Hanlon sent that clip to Joel the second that he saw it.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to their text history, Drew Hanlon, the second he saw that, was like, Joel Embiid's number.
Yes.
Circle it on the calendar, buddy.
Yes. Bet 365, everybody. Of course, bet responsibly.
Teach that young man a lesson.
However,
and I love Derek Queen. I love, we've talked about it a lot. His attitude that he wants to get up for these games against other bigs that he
and he's not wrong.
Like, I'm trying to take their head off. Yes.
But he's going to see now because he said that. Let's head to overtime for this final super chat from Marty Bones. Thank you, everybody on the television side. We are off on Friday. We're back on Saturday, pregame, 6:30, Sixers Pels, right here with Bree and Derek on the PHLY.
I didn't know we had off days anymore, Devon. That's nice to learn.
Yeah, we apparently have an off day, and we might not. I don't know. Who knows? All right. Bet 365, everybody. Bet the over on Saturday.
On days worked by Devon, Derek, and Kyle.
Yes, exactly. Final one, Marty Bones. Do you think these endless close games will ultimately help or hurt the team, or are they a sign of a bigger problem?
So I don't, Devon, I don't know if we see eye to eye on this. I don't think they hurt. But I do think and I've talked about this on the show, I think generally conventional logic is if you're in a lot of these, you're putting yourself at risk all the time. So even when you have that start of the season where they were a killer crunch time team, they played their imagine they've played in the most crunch time games in the league still, because they were way out ahead of the pack early. They just so happen to be winning those games. And then the natural regression happened. Like a lot of times, the team that you bet against in season-long over-unders, if you're a Bet365 type of guy or gal, is the team that won a lot of crunch time games the year before that isn't like a, superstar-laden team. It's a cast, like a deeper team that, hey, they were able to win a bunch of these crunch time games, and then the next year it goes the other way and their record just falls to the floor. I'm specifically remembering a version of the Kevin Love Timberwolves that they had a year where they were like a pretty solid version of the Timberwolves, and they won a lot of those games. And then the next year they were just an absolute disgrace in crunch time. Mm-hmm. And they had a very bad year. I'm not saying that's what's ahead of the Sixers, but I think to Marty's question, I am definitely concerned that they are still in so many of these games, especially against teams that aren't on their level, talent-wise, record-wise, anything-wise. So I would like to see them start winning some of these games by 10, 12, 15 points and put them away so it's not left to literally the last 3 seconds of the game.
So part of it, I agree with you, Kyle. Part of it, though, is what you brought up earlier. The third quarters continue to happen. If these third quarters don't continue to happen, we may not be in the situation where we're talking about all of these crunch time games, because they're forced to put their foot on the gas and play with their hair on fire, if you will, in the fourth quarter to close that gap. And because oftentimes they're down, whether it's 2 points or 12 points, they're down in the fourth quarter at the start of it because of a lot of what we've seen in the third. So I do think it helps in a sense, because it's hard for me to believe that when you're in that type of scenario that it doesn't help you and you don't learn from those situations. It's a matter of how you get out of those. And when it's most important in the postseason, can you find a way to pull through? Now, look, tonight, we've seen plenty of these where we were getting ready for overtime. Not the fact that they fought back, the final possession where they took terrible shots. Mm-hmm. And they got a great play. Joel Embiid had the trust in Tyrese Maxey to make that lead bounce pass to him. And Maxey finished the scoop. Even if he didn't get the foul call, he made that layup and they would have been up 2. So I'm encouraged by that part. But we know they're going to be there again, and they're going to lose a game, or they're going to go to overtime. But I do ultimately believe that being in these types of games in the end, you just have to learn from it. What do you do, though, with the execution at the end to make sure that that learning turns into a positive and locks in a win for you, especially in a 7-game series where every possession counts? So
I think we could all deal with a little less drama.
Yes, a little less.
Sixers.
Little less. Yeah. I mean, look, talking about Bet365, people were messaging us at some point in that early part where the third quarters kept happening and it was a common theme. People were just betting to lose. The Sixers were going to lose the third quarter. That's how bad it was. And they would win because of that. That's not a good place to be. So we'll see. We'll see. But in the end, they got the 2-point victory, everybody. 113-111. They are now 26-21 on the season after tonight's victory. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey combining for 77 points. Fantastic two-man game all evening long from those two guys. The Sixers are currently in sole possession of 6th place, 2 games back of the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are tied with the identical record of 29-20, sitting in 4th and 5th place right in front of Philadelphia. Cleveland is on a 5-game winning streak. Part of that is because of the Sixers and their
they got their get-right games in Philly, and now they're just rolling.
And they are 3 games back of the Knicks, who are right back there in 2nd place after winning 4 in a row. They're tied with Boston at 29-18 for 2nd and 3rd place there in the Eastern Conference. They do hold a game and a half in front of both Orlando and Miami. Miami tonight, I know they were playing tonight. They did beat the Chicago Bulls, so I'd imagine that record improves there as I refresh here. But the Sixers are solely in 6th place by themselves. Next up, Pelicans. I already know, Kyle, how you feel. Just handle your business against the Pelicans at home. And don't embarrass the 2000-2001 team while they're all in the building. for the reunion game. Yes. All right. So Miami won. Sixers a game up on the Miami Heat right now. All right, everybody. That'll do it for us here on this night. By the way, Milwaukee lost again, Kyle, 109-99 to the Washington Wizards. They lost by 10 to the Wiz. Hello, Giannis. Maybe.
But that whole team has moved on.
Does Doctor survive the whole year?
I don't know that what he gained from getting rid of him. It's like,
I know.
Maybe he wants out.
Maybe. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch to see how that all plays out for the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, it's time for the world famous. It's the roll call on a Thursday
Thank you, everybody, for being here with Devon and I. Derek wrapping up his work down at the arena in South Philly. Been wonderful hanging with you tonight. Not just you guys, but the guys I'm going to thank first and foremost. Smy Guy, a.k.a. Smoggy. Rodham, Mellow 3-Point, Philly Star,
Mellow,
Rich P, C. David, Arnold Green, L, Stell, Jack Reacher, Samaj, Jay Skins, Kyle Wright, the Flying Zebra, our Togo unsung hero of the night.
Yes, the Togo unsung hero of the night, Flying Zebra. What up, Flying Zebra?
Mr. Midrange, Marty Bones, A. Ron, Remo K, Eugene Ross, Black Moses, Dan Muldoon, Sir Schmooey, Music Lover, Philly Shad, SB Cole, Jay the Jungle, Marcus Blackstock, X-Man, Theo, Tom Jackson, Jess, Val, Edsa, my girl Nona, the famous social media star Nona.
Yes.
Terry, James Alexander. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight with us. On your way out, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, because it helps us all out a great deal, more than you could possibly imagine. Me, Devon, the whole crew, Bree behind the scenes. It's always a thank you to her. She's the one who's always working harder than everybody. So hit that thumbs up to say thank you, Bree. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And until next time, Saturday night, Pelicans, pregame, postgame,
reunion
game.
There. Yes.
Be there, be square. The 2001 reunion game. That's going to be a fun one. So until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Sixers, for beating Dennis Schroeder.
We all silly like the mayor.